Broadcasted live from Hollywood, California. With me, you know him as the czar of the virtual background, the one and only Omar Zini, known as Pro GK Academy. And joining us is another former LA Galaxy Academy member, but now it's Sporting KC, the one and only John Pulskamp. Did I say that right? Is it Pulskamp? Is that how I say it? Okay. Because I look at it, I'm like, it's probably like Pulskamp or something, or like some foreign pronunciation that everyone's gonna get off on me and be like, no, dude, like the S is silent or something like that. So I was trying to be politically correct on there, man. We're excited to have you, man. I mean, honestly, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on is obviously you got the Cal South roots. We're based in Cal South. Both you and Omar went through the same, academy process, going from like your indie clubs over to LA Galaxy, kind of finding out what being in an MLS academy is all about and everything like that. So kind of before we get into today's topic, for maybe some of the people out there who might not be familiar with kind of your journey all the way to Sporting KC, kind of bring us up to speed. How did you end up at KC?
Yeah. So it's definitely been a long journey up until arriving in Kansas City. Been a lot of places, but it all started. I was born and raised in Bakersfield, California, so a few hours north of where you guys are at. Played there in just my local club and academy, the Aztecs, Central California Aztecs. Um, so I played for that organization, as me and you were talking about. Since I was like 8 years old, up until about 15. Um, and just it was through playing with them that I had a few youth national team call ups. And I guess just had to got a little more recognition to my name, had some interest from MLS academies. Parents weren't quite ready to let me leave the nest yet. Which ended up resulting in me going to Real to then play in the academy system still, and it was close enough where we can drive and kind of work something out. So then I spent a year there, which was really pivotal for me. I had a really good year with them, and they definitely helped me a lot. And it was in that year that the interest from MLS teams kind of grew. Um, and then, yeah, I'd spent some time actually with the Sounders, quite a bit of time with them training. And then was actually talking heavily with Sporting Kansas City at that time, with their goalkeeping department, with Gavin specifically, to go over and play with their academy. And I ended up landing in LA with the Galaxy. And yeah, had a really good time there, enjoyed my time there. I think I developed a lot there. But Omar, like you were kind of saying, maybe some of that vertical movement for the young players isn't quite there, as we see in some other clubs.
Yeah.
So after spending a good year and a half there, the opportunity came up for me to go overseas in trial in England and play in England for a little bit. That was a result of a U18 national team camp I had spent time in. I'd gotten seen there. Went over to England to Bournemouth, who at the time were in the Prem. And yeah, I did really well on that trial, and I was invited to stay and play with the U23s, and offered a U23 contract. Unfortunately, I do not have a European passport, and for those who may not know, it's extremely difficult. Some would say impossible for a young player without a European passport to get a work visa in England. I stayed in England for about 7 months, training and playing with them, playing friendlies, playing, inter squad games, just about anything I could, with their U23s, training with their first team and stuff. Until eventually it came to a point where they had sent appeals and things where it just wasn't going to happen. And I decided, yeah, it's time to move on and get settled somewhere. And then I came home, and when I came home, Gavin McInerney, the goalkeeper coach at the academy, actually at the time at Kansas City, who I'd been talking to previously, I'd gotten back in touch with him, and he invited me out to come see KC, and I wasn't, I was out of a club, and I took him up on that. So So I went to KC and trained and kind of talked with the goalkeeping department from the first team down, and it was just a really, really good fit, and I liked them, and I could see myself there. So yeah, I mean, and that was mid-season as well. So or early in the season, uh, around March-ish. Um, then decided to sign, and I signed actually first with the USL side. Spent a year playing with the USL team, Swope Park Rangers at the time. Now it's SKC2. Um, and then yeah, so I had a really good year with them, and then from there, just jumped up to the first team, and have been doing well since.
Dude, it sounds like you're 27. Like the way you just described that entire journey right there, dude, you're 19 years old. It sounds like you've literally been a 10-year pro, like through that whole process right there, dude. And my favorite thing is like, I'm sure like growing up in Bakersfield, California, you're like, man, one day I just want to go to AFC Bournemouth. That's all I've ever wanted to do with my life is move to the South Shore of the UK and live in Bournemouth. So that experience, I think right there, showcases just how important it is for goalkeepers to experience a bunch of different opportunities, because I think one of the reasons why you're succeeding now at SKC, and dude, 19 years old being on the first team, I don't think people, dude, like Omar knows this because all his fans and everything, and they're always DMing him and stuff like that. They don't realize how difficult it is to be on a first team MLS roster at 19 years old as a goalkeeper,
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's. I mean, like we talked about, I think it should have been with the Galaxy, which is, again, it's not infuriating; it's just frustrating. And again, we talked about it off air, but coming on air now, it is frustrating. Where, like John said, there's not much of an opportunity for growth there. You kind of got to get you to a ceiling, and then from there they kind of push you away, and then you're kind of left to fend for yourself and figure out what you want to do. But John, question for you though. Like, did you ever consider, after the stuff at Bournemouth didn't work out, that college could be an option for you, or you kind of just like didn't even want to entertain that?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of left out a big part of that journey.
I was gonna say, I think that was a
Yeah,
big part right there.
was in the middle of kind of all of that. I was actually at a time verbally committed to University of Portland. So yeah, no, college was definitely in talks, and something that was an option on the table. To be brutally honest, I think there was always kind of a part of me in the back of my head that didn't want that, and kind of felt I was ready and wanted to go straight into the professional game.
I
So
think, yeah. Once you're exposed to it, though, it's like very difficult for you to get that out of your mind. Like once
yeah,
you're exposed to like the higher level and the higher level of play, it's kind of hard for you to be like, look, you're gonna play a 3 month season. They're gonna take off the next 9 months.
yeah, that was kind of the biggest thing for me, and then I'd kind of had already had those thoughts at the Galaxy, and then going over to England, and seeing that I could succeed over there, and having coaches at the highest level give me very, very good compliments and praise me like that. It was very convincing to me, like I can do this, and that's
Yeah.
just how to be a
Well,
pro.
Well, I mean, dude, I mean, it's really awesome. I mean, because like, we've had a lot of you younger guys in the U.S. pool, on the show. And I mean, just like in regards to like this topic that we're going to kind of get into, which is composure. I mean, you guys are pretty darn composed. I mean, I remember myself at 18, 19, 20 years old. And I was a disaster, I mean, I thought I was going to be playing at Real Madrid. Like I had no idea what it took, the discipline that it took, the athletic ability that it took, the understanding of the game. That's why I have a microphone in my hand now. But no, but it's like, honestly, it's like you, Damian Law, CJ, Chitty, all you guys, man. And you guys are all with those experiences, with the US pools, over here at MLS academies, and then heading over to
Yeah.
Europe, and then coming back here, man. And, obviously Ochoa too. I want to kind of get into this topic now, because I think one of the reasons why we want to do it is because for somebody of your age, when I saw how old you were based on the clips that I was seeing, I was like, dude, this guy is composed beyond his years in regards to, not a lot of guys your age. You know how it is, John. Like a lot of guys your age, man, they're freaking out. They're running all over the place with the chicken with their heads cut off, So, I kind of want to talk about composure coming off your line especially on the counter and stuff like that. So kind of in your own words, what do you think is composure? Like in your opinion?
Yeah, so composure, I think definitely composure is just like a state of mind, and a physical state of being able to react quickly and calmly, um, in a way that's completely deliberate, where you do exactly as you know you should, smoothly and on a moment's notice.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes as goalkeepers, we know what the right answer is, or we know what we're supposed to do. But with a lack of composure, that's when we start doing more erratic decisions, or make a poor decision. That afterwards we're like, why did I do that? I know that's not what I should have. I shouldn't have came, or I should have came, or I should have done this. I think that all goes back to composure. And if you're in that calm but ready to go, on a drop of a dime, it's like to make the decision that you know you're supposed to make. That's composure.
Yeah, I think you're bringing up a really good point right there in regards to, just having that calmness, because it's that mentality in the mind. A lot of people, they recognize, like, I mean, we've talked to some people even in the medical field, sports psychologists and stuff like that. Actually, somebody who was at Bournemouth, and they said just something as simple as just taking a breath before you come off your line, like completely refocuses your body and calms kind of those nerves, so that you're not even worried about that. You're just more in the moment and focus on the task at hand. Is that something you've ever tried?
Yeah, for sure. And the person I think you're referring to is Dan.
Of course.
Somebody who yeah, I've worked with personally, and talked to. Great guy.
Well, we can't give away confidential information like that,
But yeah, 100%. I think being in the moment, and keeping yourself like that with whatever it is. Different people have their different things, whether it's taking a deep breath, or, for me, it's hitting my palms together. I'll be doing that 20 times a game just to kind of refocus myself on the exact task at hand. And yeah, I think that all goes into it.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead, Omar.
No, I just want to add on to that exactly what John kind of alluded to, and you're alluding to as well, Mike, is kind of the separation of emotion from your decision making. And I think we talk about that a lot in business. We talk about that a lot in relationships, of the decisions that you make, whether it's a business decision, whether it's a personal decision. Try and separate for that quick moment, separate the emotion from the decision, so you have mental clarity and you have the ability to know what's right. I think a lot of times in our decision making, whether it's after a mistake, or whether it's the first minute of a game, or there's a lot of context to it, whether it's your first game in the MLS, first game in the academy system, a lot of context that really develops those emotions. And those emotions can essentially, it's paralysis by analysis. It can really slow you down, make you be that half second late. And like John said, him clapping his gloves is that kind of refocusing and erasing of those emotions, so that all he has to really worry about now is that decision making, and that decision making that he's been training over and over and over. So a lot of times the emotion can fog that decision making and really cloud that judgment. And when you have that judgment that's clouded, we have maybe half a second to react sometimes, and that half a second to erase that fog and erase that emotion. By that time, the ball's already in the back of the net, or you've already hesitated. You've caused yourself to be in no man's land because you came out halfway and decided you were going to stay. So all those little things that we talk about emotion, I think composure is the lack of emotion or separation of emotion from your decision making.
Yeah, and I agree with all of that 100%.
I want to show this right now, John. This is not coming off your line in any way whatsoever, but this is a huge example of composure right here. And I want you to walk us through this kind of play first. First let's watch it kind of in real time, so everyone kind of sees what happens here. But basically, it's a set piece, as we can see. Flick on into space. That's composure right there. Because a lot of people would freak out in a situation like that, dude. And look at you now, dude. You're like standing up. You're like, whatever. It's like no big deal. Like, yeah. I do that all the time. Like, what are you talking about right there? So why don't you walk us through this play real quick?
Yeah. So basically, as soon as that corner came in, I recognized that it wasn't a ball I was going to be coming for. Obviously having that first guy kind of headed up high like that. If you just let it run, it was kind of just a scramble, hoping one of my defenders would win that ball, and they didn't. So as soon as it knocked down across to that guy, I was set, I was balanced, and I saw him take it across. I guess his back was to me. I saw it take it across his left.
Boom. Look at that.
And yeah, just with the angle of his body and the way I kind of could anticipate the way he was going to be hitting it, there was no way he was going to hit it back across to the left side of the goal. So So I just let myself go.
Yeah. But see that's like an example, like Omar, you were talking about, like separating the emotions from the moment right there. Because I'll be honest, in that moment, I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out in
I
such a
think
point blank situation like that.
I think in a point blank moment, I think a lot of times that emotion, I think that in point blank moments, those are the only times the emotion comes into it. Because I think the emotion of you being brave is just like, I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to do whatever I can to make this save. And that's it. I think a lot of times, for me at least, when I talk about composure, it's in those moments, like I talked about earlier, those mental moments of you being a little bit shy or you being scared. You just made a mistake. The team's yelling at you. You've had a bad run of form. You just made another mistake, and it's compounding. How are you going to stay composed so the next decision isn't influenced by that emotion? I think in this situation, for me at least, the emotion is just automatic. Like you probably have to kind of keep the emotion in there, because if you don't have any emotion there, you're going to go in there and just you're going to take a ball right off the face. And like you said earlier, John said earlier, it's like that deliberate attempt to make a decision. And I feel like in this very moment, it was one of those situations where like the emotion was tied to it only because you needed to be brave. And he said, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And he made the save. So I think the composure is the cross coming in and the play playing out and not panicking, not leaning, not trying to get around the defender, but letting it all play out. And then from there, being in a good position to react to whatever transpired after the ball got served in.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing with John, I want to ask you right here, because, one of the things I think mainly, like, especially with youth goalkeepers, is that their composure kind of goes out the window in a countering situation. They're either caught too high or too low, and then they're freaking out because they're already behind kind of the play. How much of that do you think is mental, and how much of that do you think is physical?
I think it's, yeah, I think it starts 100% mental, for sure. And just talking about the composure and stuff and not freaking out. Uh, I think that thing that definitely roots from just being very confident in general, and just kind of backing yourself and backing your abilities. I think if somebody's very confident in what they can do and their abilities, then even if something does go slightly wrong, or if they're slightly out of position at the start of an action, um, they kind of will still back themselves to recover or to fix whatever kind of was not ideal at the start. So yeah, and then obviously it ties into the physical as well as yeah, starting positions when you talk about coming off your line, it is probably your number one thing. Um, is yeah, where you're starting and then how quickly you can make that decision.
Yeah.
My,
Go ahead, Omar.
No, I think I posted something about an article that I read about Jordan Pickford a few days ago, and it was just talking about his current form and situations that he's in at Everton, and if he's his current form at Everton is going to cause any issues with Southgate in England, and it didn't, because I think he played this week, but I don't know, they lost 1-0 to Denmark, and I forgot the other game, but it was a
Dude,
whole
you're
thing.
the only one watching those games, by the way. You know that, right?
I watched Jordan play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, but then, the article pretty much said that in situations where Pickford doesn't have to do very much throughout the game, his mental focus turns down. I think a lot of goalkeepers, I think since I was a kid, they said the best goalkeepers are the ones who do nothing all game. 90th minute, they make a huge save to win the game. And that's what separates the average goalkeeper from the great goalkeeper. So I've always heard that. And then the article pretty much stated that, Jordan is so good when he's fully activated, getting shot after shot after shot, because he doesn't have any mental lapse. And I feel like sometimes, Mike, to bring it back full circle, when it comes to those counterattack situations, a lot of the young goalkeepers, when things are transpiring over, let's say, 10, 15 seconds, they're focusing on the ball. But at the same time, we talk about Dan Abrahams, the ants, automatic negative thoughts. When all these things are coming towards you, you're thinking about all
love the fact you brought ants back, man.
I know, it was perfect. But your mind starts going crazy and you start thinking a little bit too much. And even, for example, my story about that is whenever there was a free kick that was, being swung in or an outswing or whatever the case may be, I love those teams and those players that took short kicks, little short pass, let's keep going. Because I never wanted to be in those situations where I had to refocus myself and have that composure, because those automatic negative thoughts would really seep into my head and I wouldn't be able to manage them. That's just how I wasn't that kind of a goalkeeper. As I got older, I got better at it. But when we talk about counterattack situations, Mike, or even crossing, for example, coming off your line, those moments prior, if you have more time to think about it, I think that's where you start seeing a little bit less in the separation of the composure of the good players and the average players. And I think when it comes to a counterattack situation, I think a lot of young players, they're going through their head of, oh my God, what do I do here? If the ball gets slipped through, what do I do there? Should I stay a little bit higher? And all these normal checklist things I love. But I think if they can calm that down, they'll be a lot better off in terms of decision making. But again, those emotions, because they're going through those negative thoughts of what could potentially happen, because they have more time to react, versus let's say it's like a 2-3 second thing, and right away you'll see the quick reactions and they make a huge save. But when it's drawn out a little bit further and they have more time to think about it, you'll start to see a lot of mental lapses.
Yeah, dude, I think you brought up a really good point. And in regards to, like, you know, that with the free kicks, in regards to when they take that little pass first, like,
I also pray for that. I pray for that every time.
I love it. I love it when they do. I'm like, short pass. I'm like, yes. Hell yeah. You didn't throw me off. Yeah.
Yeah. Even when I play men's league, man, I'm just like, I mean, sometimes I'll stay in goal and I'll be like, thank God. I don't know. I'm not playing against D1 guys or any guys who are like legit. But I don't want to have to like set up my team, and everyone's looking at me to think about, you know, have to cover this much space. Again, those negative thoughts that creep in, and I think that's why we talk about like Buffon, De Gea, all those guys. They've made not De Gea yet, but I'd say Buffon, Casillas. Those guys have made their mistakes, and they've been able to grow their composure over time because they've had to see a sports psychologist, and they've spoken to them and said, look, in these situations, I'm scared out of my mind. What do I do? Okay, here's a technique. Now work on it. And they've compounded that over. Now Buffon's 41 years old, probably figured that out like 15 years ago. And he's been compounding good decision after good decision for 15 years. And that's why they make it look so good. That's what we talk about, Mike, all the time. I mean, John, I'm sure you do as well, is like when you watch these goalkeepers that are playing at the highest of levels, you have to understand that take everything with a grain of salt. They look calm. They're doing certain techniques, and because they've done it over time. And I think a lot of times coaches and young goalkeepers will take it as fact, and this is what I have to do, when really they don't understand the process of the goalkeepers having to get to that over time.
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, I think you brought up a really, really good point. I want to find this right here in regards to, I'm trying to find this clip right here, basically, of John coming out on a box out real quickly. And John, before I kind of pull this out right now, why don't you just kind of break down the fact that essentially a lot of people think that composure means clean handling, and that's not necessarily always the case, right? Like sometimes just a clean steer is just as composed as just catching that ball.
Yeah, no, I think it's whatever the right decision is in the moment. Obviously, if you can be tidy with your hands and hold on to stuff, that's ideal. But yeah, I mean that's obviously not always possible, and sometimes it's like a risk versus reward thing as well, where the right composed decision is maybe one of those in between balls. If you see runners coming in, you see guys right on top of you for rebounds and stuff, maybe it's a better decision just to get a strong parry and get it out of there, and it's in a safe area, as opposed to risking any sort of, drop or spill or something like that. So yeah. No.
John, I gotta ask you. I'm gonna ask you a question before we get to this clip. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I was the most composed on shots and situations that were developing in front of me that my teammates and my coaches couldn't blame on me if they scored. And I don't know if I'm gonna throw that to you, because we see shots sometimes that are hit from like 30, 40 yards away, and they have so much time to move. And again, that like lack of composure, because there's so much time to think about what's happening in front of you, that sometimes we see mental lapses, we see certain mistakes. Do you feel like on shots that you're not supposed to make, or saves that you're not supposed to make, you do better in terms of your mindset versus shots that they said you have to make the save because it's such an easy, straightforward save? Do you feel like your mentality shifts at all, or is that just me?
Yeah, no, I definitely get what you're saying. Yeah, I think maybe a little bit like that thought kind of maybe creeps into you if you get a certain shot, and in that split second, you're kind of like, I need to save this ball, or else, if I don't, it's going to look bad. But yeah, I don't think it really affects how I'm going to kind of break it down as I would, whether it's going, just to my right or if it's going top corner. I still kind of will break it down the same in my head, seeing it off the shooter's foot and then letting my body, I guess, react accordingly.
That's why you are where you are, and I am where I am. So that's a little side note, but we'll go on from there.
So this is the play I wanted to bring up. I want to bring OKC and SKC right here. And basically what happens is it's one of these little short kicks that we're talking about right here. Ball up. That guy just, and right there, that whole situation right there, like Omar, that's what you're talking about. It's like, guy's about to strike it. He doesn't strike it. He fakes it. And now it gives you that second to reset again. Now this ball's played into the box. And it's a simple, clean box from you. You were so confident right here, and just play it right out. I love the tumble though. You got to do
You
that
run it
for
one more
effect,
time,
though,
Mike?
right? Yeah. So let me. Do you want me to play it in real time, or do you want me to slow it down?
Real time. I just want to see.
Oh, okay. So play it again. Here comes fake shot. Simple ball played in. Dude was all over you too. The dude was literally all over you too. And now here's the whole scramble and everything like that, and you're totally fine with that. In that situation right there. But I think a lot of kids, in those situations is that they kind of jump the gun, and they're like, oh, that guy's about to play the ball, and so then they go for it. But what Omar was talking about is that if you don't jump, if you're at tense, and then you jump, well, then they're going to catch you right there. But if you're composed right there in that situation and you're confident, then you don't jump, you bite, and then you're just simply clean box out right there.
Yeah. I think when it comes to like services in the box and crossing and coming off your line for balls like that, then it's even more so than coming off your line for something like a through ball, just because, yeah, every little step you take and every little, I guess, shift of your weight could really affect how you take that ball, or somebody winning that ball over you. So yeah, and I mean, and that's something that actually in particular me and Alec are focusing on a lot for myself, because as you get into MLS, I mean, guys are whipping in these balls, very, very fast and really driven, and that's when the composure and the decision making has to be pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead, Omar.
No, I think it's also too I think as I got higher and higher levels, I realized that the margins are so slim that you give a weak punch, probably in high school, you could punch the ball out. It could be at chest height. It could be out, barely outside the 18, and you wouldn't really have a second shot. The guy would probably roof it and put it over the net. Then you get to the college level, and you guys, maybe that guy can bring it down and do something a little bit crafty, but still at the same time, they won't make you pay for it, depending on what college you go to. But
Yeah.
they won't make you necessarily pay for it. Then you get to the USL level, and you start seeing guys who are the cream of the crop in college who made it through. And now you give a bad punch, you come off your line and are hesitant at all, they're going to make you pay for it. And then again, then you move up to another level, the MLS, boom, you punch that ball out to the 18. There are guys who in their mindset are going, I hope this guy puts it out to the 18 below head height, or I can chest it down and put it back on frame. So do you feel like as you moved up the levels, again, you've had to really, really tidy up those little decision-making coming off your line?
Yeah, 100%. Coming off your line with shots, all of it. That's definitely, I think, is the biggest difference between the various levels of going from academy, USL, and then MLS is you get punished for your mistakes a lot more so, and for smaller mistakes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's definitely been a massive thing.
I want to bring this up right now with you, John, because Omar and I, we actually were discussing this yesterday in regards to, I think one of the biggest issues for a lot of kids to stay composed on counters is when the ball goes wide service, because then they start thinking about like 17 different scenarios that could possibly happen in that situation. You get what I'm saying? Like that ball's whipped in, and you're like, okay, well, great. Well, now they could cross the ball, and now there could be a through ball, and now there could be a shot. They could try to lift it over me, all sorts of things. And when you're saying, like, Omar, right, paralysis by analysis, when you're thinking about 17 different things all at one time, like, it can really, really struggle you. So, like, what are some of the key cues that young goalkeepers should look for on the wing service from a counter?
Yeah, I mean, depending exactly where they are on the field, I guess the number one things I look for is, one, the person on the ball's body language and just how he is and how he's facing. I guess, I don't know if it's just me playing long enough or whatever it is, but you kind of tell what somebody's going to do before they do it, whether they're going to cross it or playing a ball inside the 18 on the ground or cut it inside or whatever it is. So yeah, the first thing you look at is definitely what that person's going to do, and then the second thing is just the position of your team and your defenders. Where are the guys putting pressure on the ball? Where are the guys in the middle? Because then that definitely affects what I need to cover for. If the guy's about to cross it and there's two runners coming in and none of my center backs or defenders are tracking in and covering, then I really have to watch that and be ready to either come out or turn in and face a strike. So I guess those are the two main things I'm looking for. And then also just the other players on the other team runs. If I see somebody's making a really good run and the guy on the ball lifts his head up, then I'm gonna assume he's gonna see it and will likely play that ball.
Yeah, that's a really good point right there in regards to what you were saying in regards to like where is the pressure on the counter, because I think a lot of kids right now, and this has been a big theme on the show, play concept. They just think, oh, this is scenario 3 or this is scenario 7. Well, there's no such thing as that, right? Every moment is completely different. So you really have to scan the field and you really have to think. And we've been really big on logic, right? Like, okay, what logically makes sense, in this situation? Omar, I know you've been really big with that with goalkeepers right now, is like talking about, is like, okay, why are you doing this? And what do you see in front of you?
Yeah, I think a lot of times the young goalkeepers that whether work in a club and the club doesn't necessarily have goalkeeper training, they've never had someone ask them a why question or a leading question that's going to have them break things down in a more holistic way. And I think just kind of introducing that concept to young goalkeepers at a young age is going to allow them to start thinking and be more intentional, like John said earlier, about like deliberate about why you're making decisions that you're making. And once you've kind of ironed out at a young age that why answer to like one decision, then you're gonna be able to actually focus on like 7 or 8 different whys. And then as the let's say the guy's coming down the line and he decides to take on the guy, they do a little 1-2 combination, and now those 7 decisions, because the ball got moved into that lower half of the field on the right side, inside the 18, now those decisions are going down to maybe 2 or 3 now. It's the cutback, the shot on goal, 3-goal situation, right? So now instead of having 7 decisions to make, now you maybe have 3. That ball gets cut back, the guy takes a touch, and now you maybe only have 1 decision. But because you've been able to answer all those separately and individually and put them in the isolation, now when you put them all together, that's where I think the IQ and the development, the experience really comes into play. Like John said earlier, he has this idea of what's probably going to happen because he understands body language, because he's played long enough to see different things happen when the guy puts his head down. Most likely, he's probably going to cross the ball when he puts his head down, or he's going to do a little skill move. One of those 2 little decisions that you have to react to. And once he sees that body language go to the next one, he's going to the next checklist. And then once that checklist gets moved on to, he goes to the next one. So I think it's super important for us to ask the why, but train it enough where they see all these different decisions, and not in isolation, but in certain combinations where you're not giving them 10 things to worry about, maybe like 4 or 5 at the beginning. And once they've like really shown you that they can comprehend and really problem solve on those 5 things, open it up a little bit more, and you'll start to see their IQ really develop. And then on counterattacks, they're not going to be worried about it, because they're like, I've already made all of these decisions before. Now I got to choose which one's the right one in the situation.
Yeah, I want to say one of the good things about that, Omar, that you were just saying here, as we're going to pull up this clip right here, John, is that I like what you said about not 15 things, but 2 things. Like, I think you, John, you can attest to this as a seasoned goalkeeper. You'd rather, a goalkeeper coach focus on 2 specific movements or 2 specific scenarios or actions, rather than giving you 17 different things that just happened in a play, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, whether that's analyzing something or like in training, day to day, it's kind of focus on the topic at hand, without going too off track with everything.
Yeah. So right now I want to pull up here. Speaking of composure and speaking of the counter and speaking of reading body language. So it's almost like Omar was predicting the clip that I was just about to put up right here. I think I think he's psychic like that. He's got that little crystal ball emoji going on right now. But walk us through here. So this is 45th minute extra time, obviously, against St. Louis again. And what I loved about this was the composure coming out, recognizing body language, recognizing danger too, because you see where the danger is. You're like, okay, well, the danger is to the near post right here. Like, this guy doesn't have any options because I've already got support on the back post right here. So I can come up and stand this guy up right here, right? Then you hold your ground, and this is a simple clean step. But I love look at the recovery step right there, and then the composure to just get right back up like that. You didn't freak out. You didn't start yelling at people or whatever, and I think that's the mark of somebody who's now a young professional,
Mike, you play at the full speed?
Yeah. Here comes in, boom, and up. But now you stay inside the ball. Go ahead.
No, hold on. Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely want to bring this up because I just saw it with, I think it was Cisniega for LAFC this past, I think yesterday. And a similar situation where that ball gets played in right here. And on that like big touch, if you watch the game against I forget who they played against, I think Vancouver or something like that, he comes out full speed sliding, and all he has to worry about now as a striker, just touch it across, one touch finish. And I think in this situation, I think we talk about physical composure. I think, again, understanding that once that ball gets played into him, the next step for him is this guy going to take a huge touch? If so, I got to be on the front foot. You can see right now his feet are kind of staggered a little bit, that if that big touch does come, I'm coming too. But small little touch, and then he moves laterally instead of vertically towards the ball. I think from there, he checks this angle right here, and then he's able to make a reaction save. So again, we talk about those layers of decisions, and right here, I think, in my opinion, there was two of them. Big touch if he goes. If it takes a big touch, he comes. Slight lateral touch away from the goal. He can come laterally as well, but at the same time, communicate to his back line or his back left back right there that, hey, look, I'm going to be coming here. Just make sure that runner's covered as well. So I think that was the physical composure of understanding when to and when not to come, and really honing in on those triggers of what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that, John, how important is it that you have kind of that relationship, and that you have everything organized before the counter, so that makes you mentally a lot more composed, right? When you know that everything's taken care of, because of the relationship between your players.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely helps when all your guys are all in the right areas, and it helps you personally if you're the one kind of orchestrating all of that, because it kind of, I don't know, just keeps you connected and switched on, but then it reminds you of where you need to be. And I guess just kind of moving the guys in different areas, or orchestrating where they need to be, kind of also reminds you of the scenarios that might happen. It's like, okay, well, this center back needs to go more, to the left, or he needs to go higher. It kind of makes you think like, well, why does he need to go there? And then you start thinking about the possible scenarios or different actions that might happen. So yeah, I mean, at the start of this play, I think we were kind of in shambles a little bit. This whole game was pretty hectic. But yeah, like you said, just caught on the counter, and yeah, definitely a bit disorganized, but came out
But
in the end.
dude, this is great recovery though, dude. Like if all of a sudden, if I look, dude, if my team had this kind of shape in these situations, I'd be very happy.
They tracked back in the box well. They tracked back.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Omar, anything else you wanted to add to that before we move on?
No, I think that is, again, it comes through experience, and I think any young kid or any coaches listening, I think that's where that's why John, I feel, has gone to the level that he's gone to, is that the experiences are one thing, right? Like it's good that you have those experiences, but as anybody says in business or in life, it's just like, don't make the same mistake twice. Make that first mistake, understand the reasons why it happened, so the next time you come in with a different approach and a different way to problem solve that technique or that issue or the play in hand. So I feel like I'm not speaking for you, John, but I mean, for me, for example, I may have done what Sistiega would have done, right? That big touch, I would have already been cheating, because that's, I wanted to come and collect it, or I wanted to, meet him with a block save on top of the 18, whatever it is. And the next time I'm realizing, oh my God, I did that last time. It didn't work. It gave the guy, the striker, the easy way out. It's just, I'm bailing them out completely. Maybe I stay on my line this time. And that's where the experience comes through. And I feel like why, John, again, I don't want to speak for you, but why you're at that next level is because you've made those mistakes, but at the same time, you didn't harp on the mistakes, but the understanding of why you decided to make that decision, so that now that decision actually is an educated one the next time you step into that same kind of situation.
I got a question for you, John, in regards to that. Like, we were looking at that obviously in the through ball service right there. Is that more difficult to do when that ball's in a flighted service situation than it is when the ball's on the ground, because it's a little bit more unpredictable?
Like if that ball is, let's say, chipped over and he's bringing it down.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it all just depends, I guess, on how the guy's bringing it down and stuff. But yeah, whenever the ball is coming out of the air, I guess a few other things may change. And whenever the ball's in the air, you never know what the guy's going to do. If he's going to hit a little dink over you, or if he's going to just I guess it gives him, the attacker, a little bit more options, taking that ball out of the air. But then it could also make it more difficult on him if it's not the best ball, or if it's a little bit behind him and stuff, which may be a trigger to come or to stay, or anything. It all just kind of depends on the situation. But yeah, so like if that ball is not played perfectly, and he maybe doesn't have the best touch off of it, or he's super locked in on bringing that down. He's not so much locked in on picking his head up and looking at me, then maybe that's a trigger that I can come out and get in his face before he has time to decide what he wants to do with it.
Yeah, I think the number one thing that both you guys are talking about right here is really is control. How much control does the player have of not just the ball, but the situation as a whole? The more in control that player is in the situation, the more conservative you have to play the situation. The less control, the more risk you can take, right, John?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. And yeah, I mean, as goalkeepers, I think we're obviously our job is to react to plays typically. But I think with that said, on 1v1 situations like that, you can kind of take control of the situation and make a forward react to you as well. And not doing something so, I guess, early, or making a wrong decision that makes his decision easy for him. By your decision making, you can make him react to you and make his job a whole lot harder.
See, now I have a question about that for you, Omar, because again, I don't have the clip of the Cisniega, and I haven't seen this clip yet, because I do a bad job of
I can bring it up. I can bring it up real quick.
Yeah, you want to bring it up real quick
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
can see. That'd be
So
great.
what's your question though?
Because my question is that was it one of the situations where Cisniega bit, or was it that he was trying to affect the play, and he was trying to put, like John was saying, he was trying to put his own spin on the play, or was it that he got caught biting and the other player was actually in control? If that makes any sense.
No, again, for me, it's like, I don't want to make, I don't want to put words in his mouth or anything in his head, but for me, it just looked like,
yeah.
from when I watched it, it looked like he had this like a predetermined idea that I'm coming no matter what. And I just felt like, here, I have it right here, that he just kind of came and decided to just kind of give himself up. And I talked to Chris Sharp about this morning. He actually sent me this clip, and he was just telling me that, depth is super important. That's a discussion we've been having, is can we continue to have depth in the goal so we can worry about the cutback and the shot at hand at the angle. And then as the striker, let's say, puts their foot on it and starts dribbling towards you, then we close down the gap. But don't take away your depth by cheating super early. Oh, you know what? Let me just, while I'm doing this. I'm not a host.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me make you a host. Sorry, we're okay.
Mike, how long have we been doing this for, man? What's going on?
I don't know. It's 2 months. No, I'm kidding. Let's see here. All right, you're a co-host now.
Okay,
see,
perfect.
I didn't realize we were gonna have the here comes the magic Omar. All right. Okay.
How's the Wi-Fi? Not bad.
It's a little choppy, but we can still see what's going on. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
So I'll rewind it again.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those through balls that has a little bit of space, but right here, what is a striker going to do there? You know what I mean? He has a defender recovering. You have I don't know the number 4's name, but so right here, there's enough space, right, in this situation between the defender and the striker that if I'm a goalkeeper in the situation, I'm not thinking, it's a huge gap in between these two that there's going to be separation. There's going to be a window for me to come and collect. I don't see that. So it's going, I can't slow it down here, but goes there, goes through. And in this situation, if you have, let's say you stayed back a little bit, right? You have this defender, he could potentially come and apply pressure. At worst, you come to maybe 3-4 yards out. So you show that you can cover the angle. But at the same time too, let's say the striker looks up and he sees, okay, Cisniega's covering the angle right here. I'm probably going to cut this back. He's still deep enough where, in my opinion, he could potentially turn himself around and come across here, at the very least, to give himself a chance.
Yeah.
But he comes out, does a spread save, gives himself up. Again, not the exact same play that we saw with John. I think the striker had more control on it with his touches. But in this situation, I just feel like even though it was a through ball, there was still not a big enough window where if I'm Cisniega, that I'm like, oh, I'm for sure coming. I didn't think that. And if you see here, he kind of chops his steps up a little bit. Chop, chop, chop. But he's still coming in full speed. And right there, again, you're creating an opportunity that I think you could probably, take away if you were to stay back a few yards.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to be nitpicky in regards to, Cisniega has been having a very good season. Obviously, he took over the number 1 at LAFC, and I know I see John's face right now. There's no way in hell that I'm going to comment on any goalkeeper in the league right now. So don't even ask me what I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
All I was going to say was, I guess, tying that back to the beginning of our conversation, with coming off of our line and the composure with that. and I guess just kind of with what I was saying was that it all starts too, I think, with starting position. So yeah, like you said, respect to him, but in that particular clip, I think that kind of with what Omar is saying as well, it starts with that starting position. It's very, very deep, and I think him then deciding to come, he was just, a few steps behind the play, being inside his six, and the ball's at the half field line.
Yeah. John, I
Yeah.
got a question because you were bringing up Dan obviously, and we love Dan here and everything like that. And in regards to things that you can do on your own to develop composure off the field, like are there specific? Do you ever do mental exercises? Do you ever do any type of meditation or putting yourself in pressure scenarios? Whether it's analysis of pressure scenarios or visualizing a pressure scenario so that you're comfortable in those situations once you get on the field.
Yeah, massively, kind of into that whole realm of things as well. And yeah, kind of going back to with what I was saying with composure, I think that all roots from confidence and backing your ability. Because I guess just yeah, when you have that confidence, you're cool and you're calm and you are composed. Um, so yeah, I think off the field, strengthening that mental is definitely massive, and having those certain things that you can do on the field when things maybe go a little wrong or you are feeling a little nervous or something. Just little things you could do to kind of ground yourself a little bit. So yeah, I mean, personally, yeah, it's a variety of things. When I was younger, I used to always tell myself, do at least one thing a day that you don't want to do that makes you very uncomfortable, whether it's as simple as taking like an ice cold shower in the morning, or a physical thing, or a mental thing, like literally anything. Just do something where you're going out of your way to do it that you don't necessarily want to do it, or that makes you uncomfortable.
Like
Um,
breaking down into first team MLS goalkeeper in a match on a podcast.
oh yeah, so it's just doing stuff to be okay, you know, in that sort of uncomfortable environment, so you can perform when you're uncomfortable. Something that
Hmm.
I've always been told is it's easy to be good when things are going good. Um, when things are lining up perfectly and things are smooth, and then yeah, of course it's easy to be confident and good. But when things start going bad and you're uncomfortable and you're in a situation you don't like, then can you still be performing at your best and stuff like that?
I feel Omar just did the balls up at the attacking third goalkeeper move. We just go grab the Gatorade bottle, take a squirt, and put it back down, put it back down right there. By the way, we have a comment. We have a comment here for you, John, in regards to that last play where you made the kick save. It says, "Tell him not to track the ball so far on that save. He wouldn't have to kick save it, and it's a front smother if he holds and sets." And that comes, and yeah, that comes from Mitch Hildebrandt at SKC2.
I had to watch my near. I had to watch my near. I don't laugh. Yeah.
He literally just texted me that, and I'm like, "Oh, dude," I'm like, should I do this? Like, Mitch, he's probably just trolling you too. Like,
No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, fair, man.
Hey, you know what? When you save 3 PK saves in a row in a U.S. Open Cup match, you can say what you want right there. Legend like that. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the one of the problems that I think a lot of goalkeepers make, especially a lot of young goalkeepers, in these counter situations, is they don't commit fully to the play. They're still thinking about whether their decision was right or wrong. Like, is that something that kind of like, you've had to work on, over the years to kind of, be like, what, maybe this was the wrong decision, but I just got to overcommit to it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think definitely once you make a decision, you have to commit to it. But it all, I guess, is how quickly you can recognize if you do make the wrong decision, if basically there's enough time to change it or back out or improvise. I think that's important as a goalkeeper, is having the ability to improvise, because your first decision isn't always going to be the best. And you may have this, multi-step plan in your head of how it's going to go. Chances are it's not going to go exactly like that. So you have to be able to yeah, kind of come up with stuff right then and there. And yeah, let's say, you make a decision to go and it's not the right one. It's like, do I stop and come back or do I keep going? It's like, well, it's a risk versus reward game. You got to play in that moment and just, how much time you have and how soon it is in the action.
Yeah, I mean, I want to bring up this clip right here. Hold on, let me see if I can find this right here. If this is the right one. Nope, that's the one where you made that Star Schmeichel like save. Let's see if I can. No, God, you have a lot of those, man. You've made quite a few of those saves. All right, let's see if I can find this this clip here. Am I crazy? I think this. Oh, I think this is the one right here. Okay. Oh God. All right. Let's see if you guys can see this guy right here. Okay. Can you guys see this? You guys can see it right here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is Riverhounds one, and this is kind of an interesting play in regards to composure, John, because the thing is that like I think a lot of people would start focusing on this guy right there, and instead you're tracking the ball the entire way through.
Yeah.
Boom. See, I think most kids right there, they start going for that ball right there. Omar, do you get what I'm talking about? Anyone can see how I'm pointing to just the air apparently. But literally,
if you saw
right.
the Klinsmann goal yesterday. My mom actually, people watch Galaxy versus San Jose Earthquakes. My mom was just like, there's a situation exactly like this. Ball gets served in. Defender, it's like slightly in front of the defender, and then the striker's right in between the goalkeeper, which is Klinsmann, and the defender. And my mom was just like, well, why isn't he coming for that ball? I'm like, well, if the ball is being served in at pace, curled in, and it's slipping in right behind the defender and then in between the goalkeeper and the striker, what is he supposed to do? He has to respect it all the way through. He has to respect that shot as if it's not going to be touched. And then when it is touched, then he can react. But that's what I was thinking. In this situation, it's one of those ones where you kind of have to keep tracking it, shift your feet. And if it goes all the way through, you're expected to make that save. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And I think this, again, it's a good situation where the composure to keep your feet in a position where you could make a variety of saves. Like if it did get deflected, I think you probably could have star jumped or gotten yourself in a position to make yourself as big as possible. Look at your feet here. You're ready to, shift again. I wish it was not slow mode. I wish I could have, not as choppy, but shift, okay, and you want all the way around.
Here, I'll put it in real time here. Shift, touch, back. Boom, just like that. Here's another angle from it. Shift, touch, back. But again, like I said, like most kids jump at right here. Right, as they kind of lose sight of that ball, because it looks almost like a little bit of an obstructed view right there for you, John, as that ball's floated in. And most kids, they jump and they try to make a play on this ball and try to redirect it rather than let the play follow through.
Yeah.
And you stayed clean right there. That's a tough save to make, man. Honestly, big props to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that's a funny play. I think about it a lot, actually, is I swear from that game that guy touched it. When it happened, I thought for sure he touched it, and I knew he touched it, but then I watched the highlight of it, and it doesn't really look like he touched it. So whether he actually got a piece of his head onto that or not, I'm still not sure. But yeah, it's just kind of one of those things of just following the ball and not the possibility of it taking a deflection or flicking on. You just got to react to the play as it comes at you.
I think the lateral movement is what's the composure to me, because I think that forward step was what would have killed you right there. You take that forward step, you're done, because that little bit of separation that guy has, now that gap is exposed and that ball's in the net, because you have to reach back to try to make that save right there.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good lesson for young kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Omar, anything you want to add to that play, or are you good with it?
No, I think I stole the mic earlier when I was telling you about the Klinsmann goal. So I think, again, it's important. We talk about it all the time to keep your feet moving in a situation like that where it just curl into the far post. There's traffic coming in. You got to keep your feet in a position where if they do, hit it back across your body, your feet aren't stuck in the air and compromised. So you can keep yourself shifting back the other way as well.
Mm-hmm. I got a question for you, John, because obviously blocking is so popular nowadays, and unlike Mitch Hildebrandt, who wants you to go down with your hands and smother that ball right there clean. A lot of kids think that blocking means just panic and explode, but it's much more calculated than that. You have to be composed you have to be brave, but you have to be composed too, because you have to hold the shape in order to be able to get a good clean hit on your body, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, no. I think blocking and spreading and stuff is definitely a lot more technical, and to do it properly and successfully, I think, yeah, it's definitely a technique that isn't just making yourself big and the guy's gonna kick it at you, like, not at all. And it's something that I use a lot personally, when it comes to 1v1s and stuff. And for me, I think the biggest thing is timing. Um, and obviously just the shape that you're going into. But yeah, for sure, that's probably even more so. And for me personally, more calculated, more of a thought process, than just setting and reacting with your hands. Because I mean, for instance, when I'm coming out to block or spread, oftentimes it's not just running out and going into your block or spread right away. It's I'm coming out, I'm setting, and then I'm waiting for him to strike the ball, and I'm set low, and then you're then reacting wherever the ball is going with a block or a spread. So I think, the person, I guess, that I've watched a lot, that I've kind of derived my technique for close 1v1s like that does it the best in the world is Neuer. Um, if you watch the way he blocks, is amazing. Like, he comes out, he'll set, and as soon as that ball is struck, whether it's to his left or his right, high or low, he will block in that direction perfectly, to the point where the ball is, coming off of his leg or his hand and stuff. Like, that's not random. Like, that's not the ball just hitting his hand because he just was lucky and made himself big. That's him seeing that ball, reacting with a block or a spread, and putting his body in the right place that it needs to be.
Yeah, and I think, Omar, I think did you do a block breakdown not that long ago?
I did one where it was the De Gea like situation where he kind of like drops his knee, but it was not. It's just more the wide jump. But there was a
Okay.
situation where his knee did come into that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because I think that's one of the things that, John, I love the fact that you're bringing up Neuer like that, because I think a lot of kids see Neuer and they think that's an erratic movement as opposed to a calculated movement. And I think, one thing that was brought up on a podcast a few weeks back is that these kids need to understand that, like, you're talking about at the highest levels of the highest level. So you need to really slow it down, and you need to break it down so that you see what is actually happening in the moment. I think a lot of kids, they see the final action because it happens so fast. They don't see the little micro movements that lead to that. Like, how important is that, like, when you're breaking down film, for instance, like, and like the difference now between obviously the speed of play, in MLS versus when you were playing at, like, no disrespect, Real SoCal, like night and day, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's obviously, yeah, it just goes up incrementally with the levels and the speed of play, the speed of kind of just everything, and then mainly the deception with it as well. You just don't
Yeah.
really know what's going to happen quite as black and white as a when I'm younger.
Yeah. So basically, but by the way, how are you doing on time, John? You pretty good?
Oh, I'm good.
You good?
Yeah. For the day.
Okay. Okay. I want to bring up boxing, because one of the problems that we see on boxing, and we did see an example of you boxing. I might find another example in a second right here, is that kids, they come out with the intention of boxing, but they just come out with, like, their hands like this. So they're not really playing with what's really in front of them and handling the situation. Like, do you feel like when you come out, like, you're going to box the ball, or like you come out and then you assess the situation and decide whether you go open hand or closed?
No, no, I think that's definitely a decision you have to make once you see the ball. If you just, yeah, convince yourself too early, like, I'm gonna catch this or I'm gonna punch this, then eventually, that'll lead you into some trouble. So you'll end up, punching balls that are catchable, and you'll end up trying to catch balls that maybe should have just been boxed out.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, that's a decision you kind of make as you're, or me, that's a decision I'll make kind of as I'm uh, moving my feet. So first decision is whether I'm coming or if I'm dropping in. And then once I decide I'm coming, as I'm moving my feet, I'll obviously keep my eye on the ball, and I'll make that decision. All right, can I catch this, or am I just going to punch it? And then kind of at that last second, instinct will take over and just kind of go with what feels right.
Yeah, unlike when Omar was scared to death at in the LA Galaxy Academy, we bring up this story over and over again. But he would come out and try to catch everything. He would come out and just try to catch everything because you're like, he's like, I'm supposed to catch everything. So,
dude, I did that one time. We played against. This is when I got to the point where I ended up losing my job. But we played against Arsenal, and they crossed this ball in, and it was like the dopest like camera picture you could ever see. Like I literally caught it in the air, flying past the PK. I had no business being out that far from my goal, but I was. I came out flying, and I was like, lateral to the ground, looked amazing. As I went to the ground, boom, impact on the ground. I dropped it. The guy took a touch, he put it in. And we lost, I think it was like 2-1, but it was like closer to playoffs. So we had a worse seeding going into playoffs because of that goal. And I remember just thinking like, oh my God, what was I doing? Like it looked so great, but I was so far off the ground. Plus I was so far from my goal that there was way more room for error. If I had just literally gone out, I'm already at the 18 almost, just give it a little bit of a punch. That ball is landing at half field. But again, it goes down to that we talk about with Neuer, whoever we're talking about, is like understanding the reason why they're punching versus catching. Same time too, why they're blocking versus spreading, or why they're staying up for a 1v1 versus going down. I think understanding the context, I think for me would have been a lot better than just taking everything my coach said as fact, and I have to decide this before I even know what to do. I'm going to catch the ball no matter what. Like you said, situations may not necessarily provide a good catching, I guess, environment per se.
Yeah, like this situation right here, like this is this Charlotte game right here, right? So walk us kind of through it right here. So basically, okay, so I'm gonna move us out of the way so I can see this right here. As this ball's coming in right here, you're like, well, there's no way I'm gonna try to catch this ball right here, right? You're like, nope, that is a full box out, and I'm getting my full momentum behind that ball right there, right?
Yeah, can you actually play that back?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Okay, show here. You're like, I don't know, I might have got knocked in that play. I may not remember that play at all. All right. Here it comes. Bam. Woo. Oh, you got right back up. I think you're good right there.
Yeah. No, and I think on that one, the main thing that I'm thinking is one where I'm at in relation to my defender. I'm gonna tell myself that I called it off clear and early, but he's obviously still kind of jumping for it ahead of me, and then they have that attacker kind of right in that same mix with us. We're up 2-0, 84th minute. Could I have maybe caught that ball? Yes, but it's kind of one of those things that's like a risk versus reward that I can go, he's going up for it. If it skims off of his head, or I'm obstructed a little bit because of Cam in front of me, and I spill that ball, there's guys in the box and in and around the box that are going to be right there to pick that up. And then 2-1 in the 85th minute is now you have a game on your hands. I also see it. I'm coming out strong. I know myself that I could punch this out, well outside the 18. It's kind of just go with the safe option. And, it works out fine.
Dude, I love what you just said right there. First off, in regards to the time and what the score was, I don't think a lot of kids take that into consideration. They don't actually go like, oh, you know what? Like we're up 2-0 right now. Not a lot of time left. Like I'm better off just being safe about this than trying to, because what's the reward there? What, you win the ball and you can counter and you're already up 2-0. Like,
like if I catch that ball and let's say it works out well, just like you said, the reward isn't really massive. Maybe I can delay the game a little bit, waste some time. But let's say the roles are reversed and it's 2-0, we're losing. Well, now a punch, it's still in circulation. Nothing's really happening. If I catch that ball, exactly, I can get up and I can hopefully hit a side volley to somebody that's up high, and we can get forward and try to get back into the game. And if the worst happens, well, you're taking that risk because of the moment in the game.
Yeah. Omar, anything else you saw right there in that play, insight wise?
No, I just thought he made a good decision, and he decided to come full force. And when you decide and you're deliberate about it, you make sure that ball goes outside the 18, because again, he has to cover a lot of ground getting back to the goal. So a weak punch top of the 18 gives the striker a really good opportunity to chip him. So to recover that depth, he has to really make sure he gives himself time. And by giving yourself time, you have to have a good punch, and he did.
Yeah. And I like also, John, what you said in regards to like, you scanned and you saw where the danger was. You saw where the danger was. You're like, okay, so well, as I'm coming out for this ball, if I spill that ball, there are players in risky areas that could pounce on that ball. And chances are we are going to get scored on if I don't hold on to that ball. So the risk was just way too high. And I think I want a lot of young goalkeeper coaches out there to see that, so that when they start recognizing these scenarios in games with their young goalkeepers, they start realizing their goalkeepers are thinking from a game standpoint rather than thinking like, this is a situation where I catch, this is a situation where I box, because it's not black and white like that. It's just it's a gray. Dude, well, John, dude, honestly, first off, thanks for taking all this time. I know this is a crazy time of the year right now for you guys, you know, trying to get the whole playoff momentum going and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I know it's been a wild ride for you, man, going from 2 to 1 in regards to the environments and stuff like that. And with COVID and stuff like that, you haven't been able to bounce back and forth as much as you wanted to. And really congratulations to yourself to keep it. It's not easy, man. 19 years old and staying in that first team environment, man. I mean, dude, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there who think they should be in that first team environment, you know, and you can tell them firsthand, you know, there's a big difference between going up every day against 33-year-olds than going up against 18-year-olds, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, doing the most we can this year. Could be a lot worse. So I know this year has definitely affected a lot of people a lot harder than it's affected me. So just try to keep that mindset.
Yeah. Well, I know you can't be found on Twitter, so no one can try to. If someone's trying to follow you on Twitter, that's not going to happen because Twitter thinks you're 12 years old. So.
So new Twitter coming soon. I got locked out of my old account. Some guidelines thing, but yeah, just Instagram for now.
And what's the best place for people to reach out to you? It's on Instagram, right?
Instagram, yeah.
Okay.
Instagram.
Okay, and that's just your name?
_ John JOHN _ Pulskamp PULSKAMP.
Awesome, guys. Well, honestly, I think, you know, one of the things is, dude, I mean, you got such a bright future ahead of you, man. I mean, Omar and I, we've talked about this, man. It's like that, your guys' pool, your generation, just light years ahead of our generation. I'll tell you that, you know. I mean, God, what we well, I mean, Omar's a little bit younger than me, but like even your generation, Omar, you know, where you guys were to compared to this generation, you guys all can play with your feet. You guys all know how to play the game from a thinking standpoint. I mean, just so much farther. And honestly, the environments that you guys are training in, like I mean, especially my age, we all went to college. Like there was no going pro, you know, like you went and maybe you left after your third year in college, you know, like maybe that was the opportunity right there. Well, awesome, man. Well, thanks for taking all the time. Obviously, you guys, you can reach out to Omar Zini at ProGKAcademy _ Omar, the breakdowns come back next week on the premium service.
They do, yeah. They come out every Tuesday and Wednesday, Premier League stuff. So hopefully this weekend has some good games, so I can get some good content out to you guys. But yeah, you can visit my website, ProGKAcademy.com, and find out more information there.
So, any special guests you want to announce yet?
No, but I'm reaching out, hopefully, to Thackeray. I'm hoping Nathan Thackeray from Courage will come on. So we'll see. I'm praying he does.
Nice, dude. Remember, guys, you can reach out if you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion. Contact at Inside the 18. That's the number 18media.com or at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social media platforms. I just said at Goalkeeper. What did I say? At Goalkeeper.
Cape Podcast. I don't know, bro. I don't know what's going
Podcast. At Goalkeeper Podcast on all social media platforms. Dude, I've been losing my voice. I did a show last night. And I've not done comedy on like a real stage, John, since March 12th. And I literally, as I'm getting on the stage, I literally tried to sit down. Like I was so used to being on a Zoom screen. And I tried to sit down and start talking to the people. And they're like, dude, what is this guy doing? And like literally, it was the worst environment they could have done comedy. The Dodgers game was on, and literally the whole crowd were people wearing Dodgers jerseys or like Kobe hats or like Lakers jerseys. And they had the Dodgers game on literally right next to me on a giant screen TV. Literally, I'm standing right here. The TV's right there. Like people are watching the game and looking at me at the same time. Like I was fighting with the TV to get people's attention. It was not not a good conducive environment to comedy. But if you guys want to check out Comedy in English, every Tuesday at 12 noon now, guys. All right, guys, that's all the time on Inside the 18. We are out. Later, guys.